Professor Nyovani, thank you very much for agreeing to speak with us. As you know, we have been engaging African governments to implement their commitments on demographic dividend.
Yeah.
And also we have been engaging members of parliament, as part of their oversight role to hold governments accountable, to help them understand the demographic dividend for them to deliver that role.
Yeah.
And interestingly, they've been asking some questions all over again, and we want to get some of your views on these questions. One of the questions they keep asking us is that we are asking African governments to work on reducing their fertility levels, the average number of women, of children that women get,
Yeah.
And they're telling us that countries that have very low fertilities like China are now struggling with an aged population that cannot work.
Yeah.
So why are we asking them to have fewer children and then get to, having an aged population? What would you say to that?
Yeah. Okay, so first of all, China is not a very good example because China had a rather cohesive family planning program.
Yes.
They advocated that couples should have just one child.
Yeah.
And the consequences of that have been immense, one of which is as a result of the demand to have just one child, most of the couples had sex-selective abortion, ending up with more boys than girls. The problem is then that these boys, as they grow up, they have no women to marry. That's
interesting.
one.
Yeah.
But then the other thing that a very good friend of mine, Professor Dodo, kept saying is that these young boys actually end up with 6 sets of people to dot on them. They get very spoiled because you've got grandparents from the father's side, from the mother's side, and then mother and father. So you've got, for each child, you've got 6 people to dot on it. And the consequences there have been rather spoiled children because they're treated like little kings. But then another point is going down as low as one child per family is actually not a very good idea because then you have an aging population. What we really need is to try and get countries to achieve what is called replacement fertility. Replacement fertility is essentially making sure that each couple just reproduces itself. So roughly about two children per family. That would actually create what we call a stable population where you have just as many people dying as are being born.
As they're being replaced.
Yes, as they're being replaced.
Because then that brings me to the second question, which again members of parliament are asking, what is the ideal number? So you keep telling us reduce from 4 to what? So are you saying it's 2?
The average is around 2.1, 2.2, basically because some couples will have 3 children, others will have only 1, and others will have no child.
At all,
so that when you look at the average, is around 2.1, 2.2. So in a nutshell, if couples plan to have 1 or 2 children, that should be good enough to ensure that we have a working age population as time goes by.
But what would you say to, should governments be telling people have 2 children? What would you say to that?
I think there are ways of actually communicating this sort of information without the government giving out a directive. It needs to be a voluntary thing, but you also need to make sure that there are contraceptives available for those who need and want to reduce the number of children they need to have. Over time, people actually respond to the fact that you've got good services, the fact that the children they have are surviving, and the fact that there are more opportunities for women to go into wage labor force and they can work and earn a living. They decide that, okay, I'm not going to go down the route of my mother and have 7 children.
Because then you have to work.
So that I can actually work. And then also they start saying that with 2 children, you actually can provide better education, health. You can invest in their welfare, better nutrition, good housing. That actually becomes very attractive. And society responds to those incentives without coercive
being told that have 2 children, have 1 children. Finally, one of the questions that members of parliament keep asking us is part of their role is engaging communities, advocacy. So they're saying, so when we go to communities, what should we tell them about these population challenges?
So members of parliament, when they go to their constituents.
Yes.
I would say there are maybe 3 fundamental things that they need to communicate. The first one is actually keeping girls in school.
Okay.
Because one of the challenges we seem to have is that girls are having starting childbearing at a very early
ages. Yeah.
And the consequences are that they end up with a large number, but also it's not good for their health because the likelihood of a maternal death or indeed morbidity is quite high
for younger
adolescents. So keeping girls in school and making sure that they delay childbearing as much as possible. That's the first thing. The second one is actually to promote use of effective methods of contraception so that couples, women, men don't have the unintended pregnancies, because when you reduce that, it also contributes to a reduction in overall fertility.
So do you mean that members of parliament need to know which are the most effective?
Well, the most effective ones, I deliberately use the most effective ones because normally I would say use modern contraception, but sometimes couples might say, well, we practice abstinence, where essentially he goes and works in Blantyre or some other city, and then I work here in Lilongwe. That actually
it works, right?
It works. It's an effective way. But on a serious note, modern contraceptives are the best ones that I would recommend that they promote in the villages. And then the third one is actually maybe working with both men and women to actually maybe change the norms and fertility preferences for smaller families, particularly in the rural areas. In the urban areas, as we talked about, women going into the wage employment, it's quite clear how women get influenced. They see others going to work. In the rural areas where most of the women perhaps are involved in agriculture, in labor, it's not very clear. But you do need to change.
And children are also seen as good for agriculture.
As good for agriculture. You do need to change the way, for example, men view women and see them more as partners, and the roles of women, and also making sure that they understand the consequences of high fertility, the consequences on their economy as well as on the health, and then the burden on the women of having high numbers of children.
Thank you very much for talking to us and providing some of these reflections on these interesting questions.
It's been my pleasure.